So in today's video, I'll rank what I think are the 10 best Adidas football boots in the summer of 2025. Now, the thing is that while Adidas are on a roll right now, it also leaves the very positive problem of having so many good boots to choose from. So having worn all of the Adidas boots extensively in trainings and matches, I've decided to sit down and basically rank them depending on what boots I would wear if I was to play a football match tomorrow. Now, that also means, of course, that it's my list, meaning that just because I have a boot pretty far down the list doesn't necessarily make it bad. It's just based on my preferences. So if you have a football boot that's 9th place for me, but it fits you well and you really like it, well, that might take it to 1st place for your list. And just to be very, very clear, this is all based on my playing experience and my boot preferences. Just so we're on the same page. Cool? Cool. Let's go. And we can start with the granddaddy of Adidas boots, the Copa Mundial from 1979. So actually, it's 9 years older than me. So it's old. Anyways, it's actually still going strong, especially to some people because of this really soft and supple K-leather forefoot and midfoot here. Of course, the iconic fold-over tongue that never, ever stayed down. And then, of course, the polyurethane outsole. And it just still works because this upper here, it's one of those uppers that can still go full slipper mode on you if you wear it and care for it for long enough. But with that said, I also need to mention that for me, the age is starting to show, especially when it comes to the midfoot stability and lockdown, and of course the outsole, where the more modern outsoles are just simply lighter and snappier and more stable in the midfoot. So, I say this with as much love and respect and admiration as possible, but for me, the Copa Mundial, while still solid, is number 10. And then in 9th place, we have another Copa, namely the Copa Pure III Elite Laceless, which is very similar to the regular Copa Pure III Elite, just with the punch holes removed and the laces taken out. And that means that it still does many things right. It's wonderfully soft, has a great shape to it, and is overall very comfortable. But, and this is a very personal preference, but for me, laceless boots in general, this included, just doesn't have sufficient lockdown for me to fully feel securely locked in during a match. And that just matters to me. So since this is the most loose-fitting out of the 3 Adidas laceless options, we end up in 9th. And that is followed closely by the F50 Elite Laceless, which to me has a slightly better and more secure fit, but is, of course, because it's laceless, still lacking a little bit in the whole lockdown department. Now, with that said, though, the shape is actually very nice and sculpted, sits relatively close to the foot, and once you break in the fiber touch upper, it really becomes very nice and soft and textile-like, which, of course, is also one of the problems for the lockdown. But if you're into the whole laceless vibe, and you can kind of live with the fact that the lockdown isn't top-notch, well, then you're gonna get something that sits very close to your foot, almost like a ballerina type sort of nimbleness with a really sharp and uninterrupted feel on the ball. So if that's your jam, these aren't bad. But of course, there is also the Predator Elite LL, which it kind of has to be, to me, the best laceless option you can buy right now, because I find it to have the best combination of this relatively snug and also somewhat locked-in sensation and this wonderful upper material, Hypertouch 2.0, that becomes really soft and pliable when you break it in. It is very, very comfortable, but also has enough built-in tension to it to at least make it feel as if it holds your foot a little bit better in place when you start to move compared to the 2 other laceless models. And then, of course, you also have the Strike Skin the SL rubber fins on top of the upper, which just adds a little extra on top of that very uninterrupted feel. Just a bit more grip. So while I'm definitely not a laceless kind of guy, if you hadn't gathered yet, if I had to wear a laceless boot for the next season, this would be my choice. 6th place, you ask? Well, have some F50 Elite, which is by all accounts just a really solid football boot. And it might be that the fiber touch upper here can feel a little bit, plasticky at first, but when you break it in, it becomes very, very nice and soft. I talked about it earlier, but combining that with the really lovely sculpted shape here, slightly wider forefoot in this part, which then becomes a little bit more sculpted in the midfoot, I find that to be a very enjoyable shape. You have the compression fit tongue here in the middle, which adds this slightly compressed hold in the midfoot that I also enjoy. And then you have a little bit of texture and tactility on the ball as well. The outsole is is decent, I guess. But for me, it also aims a little bit more down the middle of the road compared to some of the other speed boot in terms of aggressiveness and smoothness. Now, what I will say though is that it's one of those boots I just always enjoy it when I wear it. But if you are a woman, it might also be worth taking a look at the F50 Spark Fusion, which has been built with a custom women's fit. So instead of your feet having to fit the boots, now the boots fit your feet. And for that reason alone, these might actually be some of the best boots from Adidas if you are a woman, because they just fit. Now, up in 5th place, I have what might be a little bit of a hot take. The F50 Plus. You what, mate? F50 Plus over the regular F50 Elite? But actually, yes. So hear me out. Adidas gave the F50 Plus a new upper. It's mesh-based, it's very thin, and it's pretty crazy fast plus-like, meaning that it is super thin, very soft, and just conforms so nicely to the shape of your foot. And with the F50 Last, it's just a really, really enjoyable fit. Also, of course, Adidas listened to us and equipped the F50 Plus with laces and also an internal support structure, meaning that the lockdown is actually solid and works now, which is really nice. So the upper is phenomenal. There is, of course, also a bit of the elephant in the room here, the Lightstrike foam pods and the double-plated outsole, which, yes, it does look and feel a little bit chunky. And yes, it does take some time to adjust to. And honestly, it might turn a lot of people off the boot because it just looks wild and unfamiliar, right? But to be fair to the boot, and I said that in my review of the last boot as well, that, you know, the response you get when you plant your foot and push off and kind of like, you know, try and transfer energy down to the ground is actually really impressive, and it just feels fast. Is it perfect? No, but I just personally love the upper so much, the shape of the boot in general, that I'm actually willing to adjust and getting to know the sole. So, you know, I just gotta keep it real with you guys, and there's no question that the regular F50 Elite might be the more generally appealing option, the safe option for a lot of people, but honestly, I prefer the F50 Plus because of the upper, and because unlike the regular F50, to me, this feels extremely fast, and I'm vibing with it. And also, it's not stupid anymore because of the laces. However, the F50 Plus is up against some very, very good football boots. Amongst them, the Copa Pure III Elite, with the laces, of course, which is, in my book, a little bit of an underrated masterpiece, because the shape of the boot is really good. You also, of course, have the fusion skin leather upper here, made of calf leather, which is just so nice and soft. And I swear, when you break this in, it's absolutely outstanding. The tongue fits nice, the heel is really good, and the outsole is just very comfortable and a pretty smooth ride. And on the ball, it feels elegant. It's a little bit padded, you know, it has that thing that only a leather boot has. It's really comfortable and just very no nonsense. And if you miss the Champion Legend and Puma King being leather, well, this is a fantastic alternative. It just works. And so is the F50 Messi Elite in 3rd, which, if I'd made this list last year, would have been a clear number 1. But while it's still a really enjoyable football boot, I like it a lot, don't get me wrong. But the fact that Adidas have just made the upper a little bit stiffer because of the different way they've applied the sprint web here, just means that it's a little bit more muddy for me. Because the Hyper Touch upper here, when it breaks in, becomes very nice and soft and feels like your foot's best friend, really. But it's just not as far ahead of the other Adidas boots as it used to be. And you're gonna get there with the upper, it just takes a little bit more time. So thoroughly enjoyable for me, the best of the F50s, but yeah, I couldn't put it in 1st this year. Still very good, Mike. And number 2, the Predator Elite, and its big brother, the Predator Elite FT with the tongue, and that's kind of the only difference. But the reason I like this so much is, of course, partly the upper material, Hypertouch 2.0, which is so ridiculously soft, especially when you break it in. It just takes a session for the upper to react to the heat from your foot and just become so wonderfully pliable. But also, for my foot at least, the fit, where you have a little bit of width on this part of the forefoot here, and then it tapers slightly more, becomes more sculpted in the midfoot. Great fit for me. That also means probably that it's not the most ideal boot for the widest of feet from Adidas. That might be the Copas, but for me, it's a really, really nice shape. Also, you get that little extra something on the ball with the SL rubber strike skin fins. So just the overall really solid package, very nice outsole as well. And yeah, whether you go for the FT or the regular Elite version, you get a very good football boot here. Personally, I prefer the Elites because, you know, it just brings the boot a little bit closer to the top part of my ankle, my instep here, which personally I prefer in terms of lockdown, but genuinely, which one of these you pick, it doesn't really matter. Very good football boots. And that means that if you've been keeping score, you'll realize that there's only one boot left, and that is the Adidas Copa Icon 2. And is that really my favorite Adidas boot? And yes. Yes, it is, because it might be 100 euros cheaper than the Predator Elite FT. That doesn't make it 100 euros worse, because it's just a really solid football boot. You have this calf leather forefoot here, which is wonderfully soft out of the box. There's a little bit of like a soft suede liner on the inside. It's very plush and lovely, and on foot, it just feels stupidly comfortable, and of course, it will become even softer as you break it and really take to the shape of your foot. You have a very deep lacing system here, allows you a lot of adjustment for your foot, really nice lockdown as well. The heel is pretty nice, it's soft, sits close to your heel, and also still feels free. And while the outsole is technically an AG outsole, it also does pretty well on FG pitches, and it's just a relatively smooth ride. The boot is nice and nimble, it's really light, and it is just fantastic value for money. And if you were to, you know, shake me awake at night with a match tomorrow and ask me, what are you wearing, Jay? This is gonna be my go-to option. Phenomenal. So there you have it, what I think are the 10 best Adidas boots right now, ranked. With, of course, the very big emphasis on this being based on my experiences and my preferences, my foot shape. So your list might look entirely different. And English, actually. I'd really like to know what your top 3 looks like in the comment section right down below. Also remember that if you want any of these Adidas boots or any boots in general, the link to unisportstore.com is right over there. We have a ton of great options. Of course, also, before you bounce, make sure to subscribe to the channel with the notifications on and like the video, because not only does it make me really happy, but also we make a ton of cool content every week. And yeah, go buy some boots. I'll do the same. Signing off, cheerio.